the Italian Football Podcast.
That brings us on nicely, talking about the Milan Derby. This weekend is the Milan Derby in Serie A, Sunday evening, 1800 Central European time kickoff, Italian time, of course at the San Siro. Massive game for both teams. Massive game for Inter in the Scudetto race, the same weekend that Napoli play at Roma. And Inter, obviously, great form after that Monaco win, but need a response after losing twice to Milan this season, and maybe not the best record in the big games, but obviously they're going for the Scudetto, so they need to get a result, at least a draw, I would say. But it's also a massive game for Milan in the top four race because they again, I think they need a draw. You can't fall away in this top four race with Juventus, Lazio, even Bologna, Fiorentina even are there as well. And they're coming off that bad result against Dinamo Zagreb. So there's a lot of subplots to this match.
Lots. Inter have lost 2 in a row. Inter have thrown away 2 in a row. The first derby, which I saw when I was in Milan in September, was a game where Inter didn't turn up at all. Milan won fully, deservedly. The second one was a game where Inter went 2-0 up and collapsed. So they need to put an end to this. They need to nip this in the bud. From their perspective, form flies out the window when there's a derby. We've learned this. And Milan will come into this game fancying to turn up to Inter's party, jump on the table, pull down the pants, and drop a giant turd in the punch bowl for Inter. Because then beating Inter will probably mean that Napoli win against Roma, and that's 6 points clear. And then regardless of what Inter do in that game against Fiorentina, they'll be trailing Napoli. So Milan will definitely will come in there and just try to destroy Inter's season and derail it. So Inter have to win, and they know that. Milan also, after the week they've had, Calabria Gate or Hip Hop Gate or whatever you want to call it, Concert Gate, and then of course whatever the hell happened in Croatia, which we've spoken about, they need something to try to change their where they are too. But I mean, it's important for both of them, and like you said, top four for Milan is also really important. I think out of Juve and Milan missing out on top four is not as financially disastrous for them as it would be for Juventus. For Juventus, it would be Armageddon.
No, they're profitable.
No, for Juventus, it would be a financial Armageddon. For Milan, it wouldn't, because they've gone through their Armageddon financially, and they're actually in a good place. So, but regardless, they do need to reach the Champions League. It's a lot of money. So it's an interesting one. I personally hope, but I know that it's not going to happen. I want Inter to play a counter-attacking game. I want Inter to play against Milan the way they played against Arsenal and City. Give Milan the ball. Give Milan the ball. They're not going to create anything when they've got the ball. And then you hurt them on the counter.
Well, that worked so well against Pioli, didn't it? Against Pioli, when Stefano Pioli kept falling into the trap, didn't he, of trying to go out to Inter, and it backfired every time.
But they're not going to. This is not going to happen.
The tables have turned.
Yeah, the tables have turned, but it's not going to happen because the Inter are going to impose themselves against Milan. And I don't like that they're going to do that, because they're playing right into the hands of Theo and Leao, who will love to attack the space. But I mean, if I'm looking at this from the Inter perspective, I would try to play like I'd use a similar approach to the City and Arsenal games. I just basically shut down and give Milan the ball and say, you do something with it. And with Fofana injured, Fofana suspended, Emerson, Thiaw, Kyle Walker making his debut, there's every chance to just basically, and Milan being the home team, I don't understand why Inter should have to impose themselves, like in that aspect.
Yeah, I mean, I think, yeah, I mean, let's talk about the team news there that you mentioned. So Fofana is suspended for Milan. Thiaw, Loftus-Cheek, Emerson are injured. We're looking probably Carl Walker's got to make his debut. You think he has to? You think that decision's been made now with what happened last week with Calabria and the defeat against Dinamo Zagreb? You have to give him his debut. So I think Kyle Walker will start. So I think we're looking, Magnon in goal, Walker, Gabbia, and then probably Pavlovic and Tomori, or Tomori rather. It would probably be a ballotaggio between those two. Teo at left back. Then, I mean, the centre midfield probably picks itself because of the absence of Fofana. So you're looking at Musa and Pulisic, and then Reinders. Musa and Benacer, and then Pulisic, Reinders, and Leao behind Morata. I think that's what you're looking at. Unless Conceição springs a shot, maybe plays like a Jimenez or someone like that, or maybe Abraham instead of Morata after his poor performance. We'll see. And then Inter, I mean, Acerbi's injured. Çalhanoğlu, is he
They
back,
don't. They're
Çalhanoğlu,
saying that he
or is
won't
he
start. They're
back in
saying he
training?
won't start the Milan derby, but there's all the chances in the world that he could make a few minutes, like make his appearances. And there's also Taremi wasn't even in the squad yesterday against Monaco because he was injured. They're saying that he should be back on the bench at least against Milan. So those are the team news there.
Yeah. Well, we're looking probable team for Inter. Do you want to run us through what the probable team is? Pavard will come in for Bisek,
Yeah,
you would think, no?
absolutely. He's not playing. I can't imagine. Given what he has said, he's gonna. This is not. He's already done his rotations now. He's going to play his strongest 11 from now for the rest of the February. Also because after Milan, you're basically playing once a week until they decide to play that 70 minutes against Fiorentina, which should come probably after the derby. There's talk of February 6th being the date. They want that to be played before Inter play Fiorentina at home on that week. So they want to play. They'll probably have to play Fiorentina twice in the space of 5 days. But he's made it clear that he's done with the rotations. From now on, he's going to look to play the starting 11, his starting 11 as much as possible. So it's going to be Sommer, Pavard, De Vrij, Bastoni, Dumfries, Barella, and I think he's probably going to go with Aslani and Mkhitaryan, and then Di Marco, Lautaro.
So
Yeah,
Aslani instead
because
of Zielinski, you think?
Zielinski doesn't like playing as a regista, and he does love reminding us that he doesn't like playing regista pretty much every time he's in front of a microphone. And also, he did well against Lecce, but against Lecce, you're never going to be harmed in midfield as much as you are. You're not going to be under pressure as much as you are against Milan. Whilst Aslani presents other challenges, he has no ability to absorb pressure whatsoever. And he's not very dynamic. So that's the only ballotaggio. It's Zielinski, Aslani. The rest, I think, they pick themselves, unless there's an injury from now until Sunday. But the midfield is where this game is going to be won and lost. Are Milan able to disrupt Inter's rhythm like they have been these two previous derbies, or will Inter be able to play themselves out of that press and impose themselves on Milan? So the midfield is where this game is going to be won and lost.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, let's finish off predictions. Nima. I'll go first. I listen. Logically, I think you have to go with Inter. They've hit great form now. Fantastic in midweek. Lautaro is absolutely firing. They look in pretty good shape physically. And compare that to Milan, who just don't look right. But it's a derby, and in derbies, logic goes out the window. Form can go out the window, and you know, it's always hard to call. So, if we're talking logically, I think definitely an Inter win. But
I
who
feel
knows?
like if I were to, I'd probably start from a draw and then say draw is my immediate hunch. But I feel this is a very open game. Like you said, the derby lives its own life, and you got to separate that. But I'll tell you this much: if Inter turn up with the same attitude, approach, intensity, and cohesion as against Monaco, they blow Milan off the park. Milan will not stand a chance against that Inter that we saw against Monaco. But if Milan are able to disrupt Inter's rhythm, if they're able to annoy them like they did in the Supercoppa by disrupting play, making minor fouls, getting under Inter's skin, then there's all the chances in the world that Milan can beat Inter. Absolutely. And if there's anyone who you put your money on to be able to do that kind of shithousery, it's Conceição. I mean, he's got a PhD in shithousery. Yeah.
Yeah, he lives for these kind of matches. That's for sure.